All right. Now, you might think that sounded a bit like a 50s movie or something. It's not. It's how the broadcast day begins on North Korean state television. Now, many people won't have seen North Korean state television. I'll do a little side by her for a second. I don't have a ton of time to tell you about this. I've been to North Korea. About 12 years ago now, I was at CTV. The North Korean government wanted people, Kim Jong-il wanted people to come in to see his son, Kim Jong-un, be introduced to the world, essentially, because I think he knew at this point that he was dying. So I managed to go to Pyongyang, spend about 72 hours there filming stories and watching Korean state TV. So I've actually seen it in the past. It is odd. It is, it only has one theme. That's North Korea. And it's all about one guy, usually the leader, Kim Jong-un, or his father, Kim Jong-il, or his grandfather, Kim Il-sung. So essentially, history on North Korean television starts about 50, 60, 70 years ago. And it's a lot of, sort of patriotic stuff. What you could imagine, right? Only what you could imagine. It's a bit like what you would think of Soviet TV in like the late 70s, right? But this guy in Toronto, who's a broadcast engineer, has this big satellite dish out in his backyard. And I guess he was looking for a feed of the Olympics a few months ago, trying to find some feeds of the Olympics. And when he stumbles upon something and he doesn't know what it is, and it turns out that it's North Korean state TV, and he's never seen it. So he starts posting little snippets of it that he shot on his phone on his YouTube channel. And people start to clamor to see more of it. So then he starts recording it and posting it on his YouTube channel. And you know what? Millions of people have watched it now. People will sit there and watch North Korean state television, really because people know so little about the place. And while this offers a pretty strange view of what it's actually like, it is a view. It is a peek inside the Hermit Kingdom. Peter Fairlie is his name, and he joins me now. Peter, thanks.
Thank you for having me, Ben. Yeah.
What an interesting, I mean, we don't call it the Hermit Kingdom for nothing, right? And I know that, in certain parts of the world, I think in China, you can sort of watch North Korean state TV potentially. I know that the Associated Press has had an office there for a while. And they still get access to that feed. But in general, very few people see what you've been watching. How did you come across it?
Yeah, well, my background is satellite. I'm a broadcast engineer for the past 30 years. So just naturally, I have in my backyard a C-band antenna. And for those that don't know what that is, it's one of these large satellite dishes, similar to what people had in the 1980s. And I actually would get a lot of friends saying, why do you have that huge big satellite dish in your backyard? Do people still use those anymore? And yes, they do, but it's really the C-band satellite frequencies are used for broadcast. For broadcasters, for broadcast relays and backhauls. So the average person doesn't really see these antennas anymore or use them. Everybody's used to the small little dishes that you get from like Bell or Bell Express View for your direct-to-home TV. So I occasionally go satellite surfing for broadcaster feeds. A lot of the stuff's open, and it's interesting to see because when you're picking up a feed from a particular sports event, first of all, there's no commercials on it, but you get to see what's going on at like halftime during the game. When the real broadcast cuts to commeral, I can see what's going on. I get to see the cheerleaders and whatever. Believe it or not, you can actually
you get the live feed, right? You're getting the direct feed,
right from the stadium. So during the Olympics, I was looking at the satellites that we call them transatlantic satellites. This is when I stumbled across this weird signal. It wasn't identifying itself as to what it really was. It had a false name. So immediately I thought, hey, this is probably a broadcast feed. They don't want anybody to really know what it is, but I thought it's coming out of the Olympics, right? And when I tuned into it, there was no programming on that channel at the time, but there was a test card up, color bars, and it said Pyongyang on it, which is the capital of North Korea. And I was like, wait a minute, like, is that really coming from North Korea? And at 8 p.m. our time, which is 9 a.m. in the morning in North Korea, they signed on, and sure enough, there it was. They're playing their national anthem. Then there was remembrance to Kim Jong Un's
grandfather and
grandfather, Kim Il Sung and his father, right? And I was realizing, this is really coming out of North Korea. There's like goes on for about five minutes, all about Kim, everything that he's done, and it's a musical, right? Like it's like a music video, but the way it's done, it's kind of more 1980s style.
It's very 1980s style. I mean, I was interested. Yeah. There was a few things because I've watched it, right? And having been there too, as I was mentioning to you, not for long, mind you, but still, it's interesting that their broadcast, it's very old school. It starts at 9. It starts with the anthems, gets into some cartoons, right? It's first some propaganda, then some cartoons. It's like watching TV from like the late 70s or the early 80s in this country.
It is. And then there's like, their military is very much active, and they have these military videos that are kind of mind-boggling too. There's the Soviet side of it because obviously, they were connected back to Russia, but it's very 1970s Soviet. It's like a Soviet time capsule there. When they're doing these military parades, it's just like reminds me of when I was a kid watching the Soviet Union back in the Brezhnev days.
Yeah, the May Day parades way back when.
Yeah, exactly.
It's interesting, too, just the way that their broadcast day is set up, because there is absolutely no indication that there is anything going on anywhere else but in North Korea. There's no outside anything of any sort, not even China. There's nothing.
There's absolutely, their news covers nothing but North Korea and what Kim has done and the regime, and just everything is great. And of course, they were flooded recently. They had these massive floods, a couple of weeks back, and he was shown going out there on his train and getting into this inflatable boat and going around. And basically, they claim that nobody died, like everything's fine. And he rescued everybody, and helicopters came in, and everybody's fine. So,
yeah. I noticed that it's interesting that Kim Jong-un tends to wear what appears to be the most inappropriate clothing for those sorts of things. He was in like a big leather jacket or a suit, I think, when he was on that inflatable.
He was in a suit. And also in the boat is an ashtray and a pack of cigarettes because he's a constant smoker. They made sure of that. But what was funny about him in that boat, I was going like, oh my God, there's no life jacket on this man. If he fell in, he's 300 pounds. Those guys wouldn't be able to get him back in that inflatable boat, right?
Yeah, you wouldn't want to be the boat driver who lost Kim Jong-un in North Korea. Interestingly enough, the way the broadcast day is set up, there's all kinds of propaganda. But by the time you get to the end of it, you actually get to see, I think her name is Ri Chun-hee, and she's the most famous broadcaster in all of North Korea. There's even articles about Kim Jong-un giving her a luxury home because she's so famous.
Apparently he did. And actually, I did find a video about that. She's 81 years old, and they do bring her out once in a while to do a newscast when it's a big event.
에서는 지금으로부터 6년 전인 주체 107, 2018년 8월 19일 묘양산 의료기구 공장을 찾으시오. 나라의 의료기구 공업을 선도하는 본보기 공장, 마다들 공장으로 훌륭히 개건하는 데서 나서는 귀중한 가르치심을 주셨습니다.
Peter Fairlie is a broadcast engineer from Toronto. He has stumbled upon North Korean state TV via satellite in his backyard, one of those old-fashioned ones that you may remember. TV stations still have them outside their stations many of these days, although people don't use them as much. But he stumbled across North Korean state TV a couple of months back, and he's been posting what he's been watching to YouTube. Peter, the success of this has been pretty astounding, because I was looking at the number of views you've been getting, and honestly, I think that's better than some conventional TV news stations are getting these days, not just here, but everywhere. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people are watching these broadcasts every day or every time you post them.
Well, what actually happened was when I first stumbled across this North Korean channel, which is their domestic television programming, I made a quick video just with my phone off my TV screen, and I didn't think people would really care at first. I thought they're going to just say, oh, wow, who cares about North Korea? But when I posted it on my YouTube channel, which, I've had a YouTube channel now for about a year and a half, I started out just doing, hacking different things, doing, technical stuff. And I did a little bit of satellite here and there as well. And those videos always had quite a few views. So I posted this North Korean video just showing, hey, look what I'm picking up. Look at this. I called it the weirdness because it was very weird. And people just went nuts. They were like, can you post more? And can you actually do it without, filming it with your phone? Can you record it directly? And I'm like, yeah, So I put together another video, and that video got huge views, right? And my subscribers were just climbing like crazy. And I was like, wow, this is really, really interesting. Like, people really want to see this stuff. And everybody was enjoying it so much. And whenever Kim Jong-un would come on screen, they'd go, there he is, there's Kim, there he is. And they were begging me, keep doing this. This is great. Like, we love this. And it started to create a following, like a cult following.
Wow. Are you concerned at all? Do you think, I've read the comments, and most of them are completely eyes wide open about what this stuff is. But in some ways, you're sharing North Korean propaganda with people. I wonder if they're equipped to understand what it is they're watching sometimes.
A lot of people, a lot of them are younger people. They haven't even heard of North Korea, some of them. But when they see this, they love it. And some of them are going like, is this even real? Like, are you generating this with AI or something? I've been accused of that, which is pretty funny. It'd be pretty good AI to do something like this. But yeah, I was just kind of blown away. And then the TikTokers picked up on it. And that's when like CNN saw it. And the next thing I know, I get an email from CNN. They want to interview me. And I was like,
because Will Ripley spent a lot of time in North Korea, right? The guy who did the story.
He's been there 19 times, apparently.
When you look at the reaction to it, I suppose what it shows is that especially for younger generations, and I think you pointed this out already with the TikTokers and so on, there are so few mysteries out there these days. And that, regardless of what you think of the regime and the country and how it treats its people and its human rights record and so on and so forth, North Korea remains a mysterious place, and kids love mystery. They don't know much about the DPRK.
It is a very mysterious place. And that's, I think, one of the most interesting things about it. And, Kim Jong-un is very much like a movie supervillain when you think about it. It's like a James Bond.
Or here he's like the movie superstar, right? He's sort of like the leading man in North Korea and the villain outside of it.
Yeah, exactly.
What have you walked away from after watching? I suppose I don't know how much, if you watch all of it all the time, but you must have walked away with some different impressions of the place from what you had coming in. One of the questions popped on me was, would I like to go there? And no, I wouldn't, and I probably shouldn't at this point, because I don't really know how they're taking it. I would think that they're probably happy with what I'm doing, the regime over there, but who knows, right? Yeah. Well, you're sort of sharing their TV, so I think they're quite proud of the TV. But yes, you haven't gotten a phone call from them yet. They're not complaining.
No, I haven't, but I've received some strange comments sometimes on the YouTube channel. I don't know if it's coming from somebody from there or not. Or it's just somebody joking around, but they seem to be happy. They're calling me comrade, so.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Yeah, well, I have been there. The only thing that I'll tell you that is interesting is that when you watch those big parades and everyone's cheering and running, and I've been to that particular stadium, a lot of that is canned. A lot of that cheering is coming from a loudspeaker, believe it or not. It's actually, so there's a lot of smoke and mirrors going on, but they're doing a pretty decent job. How long will you continue to do this for? Because it must take up an awful lot of your time.
It does. To put together one video, I'm recording constantly when they're on air, and that's basically through the night. I just leave it recording, but once you record all of this content, you got to sift through it. There is content that I cannot put on YouTube. They do show sports that, like, for the Premier League games.
Really? So they do sports from outside of North Korea?
Yes, they do, which is really kind of weird. And do they have the rights to do it? Probably not. They're probably just pirating it. What are you going to do about it? But they do. And some of the cartoons, one of the cartoons I tried to put on YouTube, it was copyrighted. It was Japanese, believe it or not. So I have to edit. I can't just, a lot of people said, oh, why don't you just live stream the feed straight onto YouTube? And that would just get me in a lot of trouble. One of the rules on YouTube with live streams, you can't show any guns. You're not allowed. No
Right.
guns.
There's a lot, and there's a lot of guns in those. There's a lot of military in those pictures.
Like there's constantly guns being shown on
right.
North Korean state. Yeah.
So you're going to keep it up for now. I mean, if people want to go see Peter Fairlie on YouTube, you're going to keep posting these North Korean feeds, at least edited, for a while.
Well, I will continue doing it as long as there's an audience and I can still receive the feed from North Korea. Right. So
right.
it's still there. So
that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fascinating stuff. Well, Peter, what interesting insight into a place that so few people ever get to see. Thanks so much.
Yeah. And your listeners can check out my my YouTube page. It's Peter Fairlie, and that's Fairlie.